Thank you, Chairman. General, thank you for being here. I want to echo Senator Blumenthal's comments about your forthrightness. Very refreshing. Thank you, sir. I want to pursue nuclear development in Russia just a little bit. General Robinson in February of this year told the Toronto Star, and I quote, "Today, Russian cruise missiles can reach us from ranges we're not used to. No longer do they have to enter or come close to North American airspace. That's a game changer." Do you agree with that observation, sir?
I do agree with that.
Sir, in 2012, the National Intelligence Council report stated, quote, "Nuclear ambitions in the U.S. and Russia over the past 20 years have evolved in totally opposite directions. Reducing the role of nuclear weapons in the U.S. strategy is a U.S. objective, while Russia is pursuing new concepts and capabilities for expanding the role of nuclear weapons in its security strategy." Do you identify with that observation, sir?
I do, and I can't help but look at history and say when we started to de-emphasize nuclear weapons, our adversaries, not just Russia, but all our adversaries started to modernize and build up their nuclear capabilities.
There's some correlation to North Korea development and Iran.
There is.
And China.
And China.
Yes, sir. Well, we've seen in Russia then, by 2020 it's projected, I think, that Russia's nuclear triad, 70% of its nuclear forces will be replaced by new systems. Sir, if we continue on the current path without a major radical change, what percentage of our triad will be supported by new systems?
By what date?
By 2020, which is the estimate in Russia. 2020, 70% of their triad will be new.
We won't be modernized by 2020.
Right. Then I look at the INF Treaty to develop nuclear ground weapons. These are all things they've done just in the last 4 years. Violated the INF Treaty, we talked about that. Their expanded deployment of air and sea-launched nuclear cruise missiles, not limited by the New START Treaty. You know, what they did in Crimea, they're threatening our allies with nuclear attack. They're actually using it in rhetoric openly now about intermediate controlled nuclear acceleration to to get a deceleration in aggressive posture. But they've also developed things in the sea, underwater nuclear drone, the new nuclear submarine. So my question is, all of this rhetoric, the buildup in cruise missiles, intermediate range nuclear-tipped cruise missiles, and their modernization of their nuclear force, what does all this suggest about the role of nuclear weapons in Russia's nuclear or their total national security strategy?
So it suggests that the nuclear weapons are a primary element of their overall national security strategy. I don't think you can look at, you have to look at their investment. You look at their finances and how much money they're spending in this capability, and the vast majority of their capabilities are going at strategic forces, and that's primarily nuclear, but also space and cyberspace to a smaller amount. But when you put those pieces together, you can't help but say that that is their strategy for national security.
And what does that say to us in terms of our strategy of de-emphasizing this deterrent that we've had for 70 years?
Well, I believe that the last 20 years, we have de-emphasized nuclear weapons, and that has created an imbalance in the approach of our adversaries that we have to address. That's why we need to modernize our capabilities across the board. We have to meet strength with strength. I never want to be able to have to sit down with a potential adversary and have a negotiation from a position of weakness.
I agree, sir.
Ever.
How long will, given that, how long will it take us, given the current procedures of acquisition and development, to modernize the ICBMs of the entire triad?
So we're talking about a 30-year modernization program. We're talking about 15-year of development and production, and then modification and support as we go into the...
So what we're really saying, and I know we're not in a classified environment, and I look forward to that conversation, but so what we're saying then is from the reality today, given our past practice, is that from 2020 going forward, Russia is in a much more modernized position of acuity than the United States, and that will occur over the next 20 to 30 years. Is that correct?
And then we will modernize, and then we'll have a modernized capability. But the thing about a deterrent capability is it doesn't matter how old it is. It just matters whether it works.
And you're confident today that the triad is operational?
The stuff that we have today will work. The question is, will it work 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now? And that's where the risk comes in. That's why modernization has to be a priority. But we are ready today. The force is ready today. The force is motivated and understands they're the critical element of our nation's security.
And that's comforting. And I have one last question, my time remaining. You addressed it earlier about the helicopter, and I appreciate your anger about that, to be candid, sir. But we've also got a situation where in modernizing, you have to go through 60 stakeholders basically. I think that's been documented. And you've said we don't move fast enough from concept to capability. What can we do? What can we do to help you? What can you do to help us accelerate our ability to be fast?
To me, the fundamental change that has to be is we have to put somebody in charge and just hold them accountable and let them go do their job. And if they fail, get somebody else to go do that job. But we have so many people that make decisions. It takes forever to get through the process and get everybody to dot the I's and cross the T's and make sure everything's okay. It's almost impossible with the structure that we've created to go fast. That structure was created because of problems in the acquisition business. It was created because we had, overruns and problems in the past. So the way we fixed the problem is we didn't hold somebody accountable. We created a new oversight mechanism to make sure that whether it's test or development or whatever it is, we have an oversight mechanism to look at everything and make sure that it's right. We've got to get back to the point where we put somebody in charge and hold them accountable.
Well, that's very refreshing, General. Thank you for your testimony and your service.